Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Ontario Time Attack e-racing series, Overtake the Apex, for main event number 4. Overtake the Apex is presented to you by Ontario Time Attack. As Ontario's premier grassroots time attack series, we love driving anything from straight out of the showroom cars all the way to purpose-built track machines. Come out and race against the clock with us. Find out more at time-attack.ca, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Ontario Time Attack to keep up with our announcements. If you enjoy watching these videos, please help us out by giving us a like and smashing that subscribe button on the bottom right corner of the screen. Don't forget to hit the bell button to be alerted of new content on this channel as well. Many thanks to our partner and server host for tonight's event, Pinnacle Advanced Driving Academy. Operating out of Toronto Motorsports Park, they are a private track school that caters to both newbies who have never been to the racetrack, all the way to folks who participate in time attack and want more critical feedback to cut down those lap times. Check them out on Instagram at Pinnacle Driving Academy and their website www.pinnacledriving.com for more details. Don't forget to sign up using promo code SPRING25 before the end of April to receive $25 off. That's $25 off if you use promo code SPRING25. Ontario Time Attack is proudly sponsored by Automoves, dependable vehicle shipping, Toyo Tires, NV Auto, build, tune, race, repeat, GRP, Johnston Research and Performance, Mobile One. With 20 years of supporting OTA, we couldn't have made it where we are today without you, Mobile One. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And now for a quick public service announcement.
COVID-19 is a serious public health threat. All Canadians must act now to reduce the spread. Avoid crowded places and practice social distancing. Avoid non-essential travel and stay home as much as possible. Self-isolate if you may have been exposed to COVID-19. Stay connected with neighbors, friends, and family. When you take care of yourself, you take care of others.
A message from the Government of Canada.
Tonight's main event schedule is as follows. There's 30 minutes of practice time, which our drivers are currently in, followed by 15 minutes of qualifying time. Based on qualifying time, the drivers grid from fastest to slowest and given 15 minutes of race time for race number 1. Race number 2 will occur immediately thereafter, but this time the drivers grid in reverse order based on the finishing order in the first race up to the 10th position. So if you finish first in race number 1, you start in 10th place for race number 2. Finish second in race number 1 means you'll start in 9th place for race number 2. As you can see in our points distribution chart on the right, points in the first race weigh more than the second race to prevent sandbagging. Being a time attack series, we also award points for top 3 qualifying times. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4 at Silverstone Circuit.
Located near the village of Silverstone, this farm site was originally commissioned as a Royal Air Force bomber station, but was shortly abandoned after the end of World War II. With the temptation of 3 runways laid out in triangular formation, Maurice Jorgahan and his impromptu gathering of 11 friends decided to race over the 2-mile circuit, unfortunately resulting in a crash. The damage? Maurice's car was written off as a result of striking an unwitting sheep that had wandered onto the track. Fun fact, it was informally known thereafter as the Mutton Grand Prix. On a more serious note, the Royal Automobile Club, in cooperation with the Air Ministry, decided to transform this site into a racetrack and host its first International Grand Prix in 1948. An estimated 10,000 people came out to watch Luigi Villoresi in a Maserati take the win in this inaugural event that sparked, and remains to this day, the home of the British Grand Prix. Having witnessed many a Brit win on this historic track, such as Sir Sterling Moss, Jim Clark, who took it 4 years in a row, Jackie Stewart, and James Hunt, to name a few, this track has also graced us with one delightful memory that all F1 fans would never forget. When 2 champions, in an act of sportsmanship, took to the same car for one glorious lap.
By 21 points, but the way Mansell is chipping away at that lead, well, watch it, Nigel. He's waving to the crowd, but he's at Woodcote now, and he can coast over the line. Not that he does so. Nigel Mansell Mansell wins the British Grand Prix for the third time in his career. You don't need me to tell you how happy he is. And Frank Williams is pretty happy too. Mansell waves both arms out of the cockpit. Now one, and Senna is stopping. Senna is stopping. Now this is a really dramatic development. I don't know whether he's run out of petrol, but it will mean that Gerhard Berger is going to come through into second place. Prost will be third, and Senna is going to be pointless.
And a super extra bonus for Nigel Mansell. And in fact, Senna may still pick up points for fifth place, because he'd already completed 58 laps as Berger finishes. But Senna will, in fact, slot into fifth place, I believe. But certainly that's a points bonus for Mansell in the chase for the championship.
Well, a race is never over until the drivers see the checkered flag. Nigel Mansell has seen it. Ayrton Senna is not going to see it. Berger finishes second. Alain Prost has finished in third position. Now that will mean that Senna should finish in fourth place, because he was further on the last lap than Nelson Piquet, who had already been lapped. But let us just enjoy this if you are a British enthusiast. And Nigel Mansell stops to take his rival Ayrton Senna back to the pits. On your way, Nigel, says Senna with a tap on the helmet. Get off it, he says to the official or the spectator who comes. Well, you know, there has been a lot of talk about bad blood between Nigel Mansell and Ayrton Senna. This proves that there is not any bad blood.
And that also proves that it was a jolly good idea to put that camera on the front facing backwards, because we can get a look at both of them. Crowd have come over the fences. Has become traditional here now in the last few years.
With this kind of legacy to follow, how will our competitors fare tonight? While sporting the legendary British Lotus branding, this mid-engine rear-wheel drive roadster sports a supercharged 3.5-litre V6 engine from Toyota and body panels from France. Pumping out a heroic 345 brake horsepower with 400 Nm of torque, the Hart drums up a steady linear rise in power whilst pushing out almost 90% of its maximum torque at just over 2,000 RPM. To the mantra of its founder, Colin Chapman, simplify, then add lightness, Lotus has kept the mass of the vehicle to just 1,166 kilos. This occurs through the use of extruded aluminum sheets bonded together with epoxy to form the main tub, while using carbon fiber and plastics to comprise the rest of the vehicle. Cheekily referred to as put together by Norfolk turnip farmers, the Lotus Exige S Roadster can easily put the grin on any casual driver's face, but, at the limit, it can be particularly infuriating. Thanks to the 38-62 front-to-rear weight balance, grip on the front might seem non-existent at the limit. But, like all rear-biased mid-engine cars, to quote another legendary British team, "He who dares, wins." The car heavily rewards those who dive deep into braking zones, and through the liberal use of trail braking, give that seemingly non-existent front end more grip than any other filthy casual would think is available. With its long, fast corners, this track is sure to test our competitors tonight. With that, let's go take one lap around the world-class track that is Silverstone. Welcome to Turn by Turn at Silverstone Circuit. I'm your host, Kevin Wong, the Chief Timer of Ontario Time Attack. So here we are on the front straight, also known as International Pit Straight, heading past the grid into Turn 1, Abbey. This is a slight right and can be approached at speed, with a slight tap of the brake to get the front end to grip, and resist that urge to get on the gas too early, or else you will understeer too far left into the entry of Turn 2, Farm Curve. Turn 3, Village Corner, is the beginning of a technical section into the loop, which is Turn 4. And finally exiting on Aintree Corner, Turn 5. The temptation to gas early is real, folks, as the exit of 5 leads onto one of 6 straights on the track, Wellington Straight. Gaining a healthy dose of speed, our competitors will dive into the second technical, beginning with a left turn, Brooklands Corner, into Turn 7, Luffield Corner, and rewarding all that work with an easier Turn 8, Woodcote Corner. Barreling down National Pit Straight, not to be confused with International, we head down into Cobb's Corner, which starts off tighter than it looks. coming out of that, we rifle our way into the start of the third and probably most famous technical section, Maggott's Corner, followed by Beckett's, and finally ending with Chapel. Having survived that high-speed technical, our competitors will slide down Hanger Straight and into the right-hander that is Stowe Corner. The mini straight after is called Vale, which drops us into the final turn that is Club Corner and heading back down International Pit Straight. There you have it, folks. One lap, turn by turn, around Silverstone Circuit. Before we join our drivers on the track, let's do a quick recap of our series so far. For event number 3, Steven Yagovan was a superstar in both races and qualifying. With a scorching time of 1 minute, 48.164 seconds, Steven easily qualified for pole in event number 3. In taking first place in race number 1, Steven was chased by Jordan Mazzugli, followed by Val Di Pietro. In race number 2, with it being reverse gridded, Steven managed to shoot almost right back up the ladder in the first lap and slowly chipped his way back to the top, this time hounded by Nathan Hodgins, and yet again, that pesky Val Di Pietro in third. With this, Val Di Pietro continues to pile on the points to keep first place in the overall standings. Jordan Mazzugli sits in second place, and our superstar from Monza, Steven Yagovan, in third. Nathan Hodgins is only 2 points behind Steven, and the same can be said for Daniel Coquart to Nathan. The rest of the pack with Gilbert Kaya, Shane Shepard, Sean McPhee, Joseph Yang, and Philip Oliveira are running out of time with only 3 more events to move up to the top 5. So who will be our superstar for tonight? Let's find out and join our drivers. Welcome to England, folks. Alright, so just a quick recap of our drivers today. On the grid currently we have Doug Newman, Steven Yagovan, Val Di Pietro, Jordan Mazzugli, Mitch Moran, Joseph Yang, Andrew Davis, Stefan Bullock, Philip Oliveira from drivermod.ca, Patrick Alex, who was on the server earlier but has currently dropped out. Again, folks, we're still in practice mode, so people still have time to just get on the server. We have Alex Mabini. Miles Q is actually driven by Owen H. He's currently on the server listed as Miles, but that's actually driven by Owen, who has decided to take Miles' spot. Miles had to drop out. Adrian Cezinaro, Brady C., Andrew Vernon, Jackson Oliveira, Michael Puchik, Daniel Santibanez, Paul Todd, and we've got 3 more drivers, Justin L. and Imani, who should be joining us shortly. Let's hop in with currently on board with Paul Todd, where, folks, if you're just joining us, we're currently in practice and just watching the drivers get used to the cars, used to the track, and used to the setup. It's currently 8:13 Eastern, so they've got about another 15 minutes worth of practice time before we switch over to qualifying. So for those of you new to Silverstone, this is in England. We're using the GP track layout today. So guys are driving the Lotus Exige S Roadster. Fun little British, British sort of, with a big asterisk on it, because it does have a Toyota engine in it, supercharged. Pretty rear weight bias, so you've got about a 3862 front to rear weight bias. So one of the things that you'll look forward to seeing is a lot of drivers actually, if they don't use the trail braking properly into corners, the car will just seemingly just understeer. You really got to trail brake this car to get the maximum amount of grip in order to actually make the turns in this car. So It will seemingly understeer this car. This is the Lotus Exige S Roadster. It will seemingly understeer because of the 38-62 weight balance, primarily because there's no weight up front. So if you try to drive it like any normal car, you're going to understeer. On board now with Jason De Oliveira. Again, folks, thank you for joining us for event number 4. We're currently in practice. There are about 15 minutes left in practice. Drivers still getting used to the cars, so all the time you see on the left leaderboard there don't really count because they're just getting used to the setup essentially. The car for tonight, again, as mentioned in the earlier preamble, it is a Lotus Exige. Great little roadster, hard to drive the limit. We'll see how our drivers tackle it individually on each of the corners. A lot of long, fast corners on this course. So in any other front bias, like a front 50-50 or more front weight biased car, it would be easier to get the grip out of the front end. But on this 38-62, so 38% weight up front versus and 62 in the rear, because this is a mid-engine, rear mid-engine car, so the engine actually sits behind the rear axles. Initially, when you go turn in, and if you try to just brake and then get off the brakes and turn in, there'll be seemingly no grip up front because there's very little in this car up front. I believe there's just a radiator and an intercooler up front, so there's no weight. So you really have to be brave and trail brake heavily into the corners. Otherwise, you're not going to get any grip out of this front end. The problem with that becomes the limit you ride on it at the edge. It's a very precarious point between getting the grip up front and getting all the grip up front, which means your back end is suddenly going to swing out on you. And since most of the mass is actually in the rear, it will, when it comes out, it's coming out. It's very hard to save. So it'll be a real test of our drivers going through the famous sections of GP tonight, Silverstone GP, because the famous corner, the famous section, technical I should say, about this track is actually going into Beckett's, and coming out of Chapel. That's a very high speed right, left, right. So if people try to cheat during the race situation and try to overbrake or drive on the brakes a little too hard at the limit, they will find their back end swinging out very quickly. So it'll be interesting to see. On board now with Brady C. I believe he's a newcomer, or this is his first time in a actual main event. Again, for those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4 at Silverstone, merry old England. This is event number 4, and while Val Di Pietro still currently leads the point standings, there's still a solid threat from second and third place, so who knows? The season is still up for grabs for the top 3 spots for sure, and the top 10, there's still a very, very nasty fight going on from 5th to 10th, so it's going to be interesting tonight, folks. I believe all 5 drivers from the bottom 5 and the top 10 points currently are in tonight's race, so it could be a lot of people shifting up the ladder after tonight. There's only 2 more events. Next event is at Imola, legendary Imola, and the last event will be at Sebring. So coming back home to North America, wrap up this season. Thanks to everyone for joining us for the season so far. It's been a fantastic success. Couldn't have done it without all of you and all of our sponsor support as well. There's currently about just over 12 minutes left in qualifying. I know the bottom right corner session time left says 19 minutes, but that's just a little on the conservative side. Once we've confirmed all our drivers have signed on, then we will switch to qualifying. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4. We are at Silverstone. So again, we're just in practice mode right now. The times you see on the left, currently our leaderboard is topped by Steven Niegovan, but that's just for practice times. This is just guys getting used to set up the car. It is a Spec Series race, so everyone is driving the Lotus Exige S Roadster, but they are allowed to play with things like alignment and to some degree, and essentially fuel levels and all that fun stuff. This is for the first session, the practice session, followed by 15 minutes of race number 1, and 15 minutes of qualifying, then 15 minutes of race number 1, and then race number 2 is reverse gridded up to the 10th position, and race number 2 will end the night. So there's a good chance that people will be changing the point standings for the season so far. Val Di Pietro is still currently sitting on the lead, but it's not completely out of reach from second and third place. So there's still plenty of time for people to shift up and down the standings. 5th to 10th is extremely tight. I believe there's from 5th to 10th there's only like 12 points separating from 5th to 10th. So one good podium finish and an unlucky crash could lead to a bunch of people just swapping spots in the standings. For those of you that don't know Silverstone, it is a Grand Prix track used in F1. It is the home of the current British Grand Prix, and is actually a former bomber base by the Royal Air Force. It was comprised of 3 runways in a triangular fashion, and essentially a bunch of people started racing on it illegally, and then eventually the Royal Automobile Club decided to just say, why not just take it over and try to revitalize the economy and revitalize the people's spirit by just having official races there, and eventually became the home of the British Grand Prix. The Grand Prix has left Silverstone in the past, but it's always come back, and it currently has and still is there to this date. Lots of famous British drivers, lots of heritage on this track here. For those of you that missed the earliest segment where I briefly covered the history of it, do yourself a favor, and then when this race is over, watch the stream again. There's some lovely history there between a moment that essentially that'll never happen again. Is that Ayrton Senna, one of the best drivers of all time, hopped onto the same car as the winner, and so you can see the stewards actually trying to get him off the car because it's obviously unsafe. But it's a hilarious moment, and with today's safety standards, that'll never happen again. So while there is just over 8 minutes left in the practice session, again, this is a strictly practice. Drivers are still getting used to the cars, the track, the conditions. So nothing really matters right now. It's just drivers getting warmed up, and we're making sure everyone gets logged in. While we're waiting for that, we will have a quick word from one of our sponsors. Welcome back, folks. Looks like Imani has joined us on the server, so we'll just follow him a quick lap around Silverstone. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4 at Silverstone GP Circuit in merry old England. There's currently just over 6 minutes left in the practice session, so folks are just getting used to the cars, the track conditions, and their setup. While this is a spec series, so everyone's driving essentially the same car, which is a Lotus Exige S Roadster, they are allowed to change things like fuel levels, alignment, and some basic settings essentially in the car, so traction control and stuff like that. But essentially everyone's on the same baseline, or they can choose to be on the same essentially stock setup, which I believe some of our drivers actually prefer. The car for tonight is the Lotus Exige S Roadster. mid-engine rear weight bias car, I should say. So you're looking at essentially 38% weight up front and 62% rear. Now, for the average person, that might not seem like a crazy big deal, but to drive this car at the limit, when you go into a corner and you just do your usual brake, lift, turn, you're going to find the front end is going to be very, very understeered because there's no weight up front, so there's no grip up front. So the car really rewards trail braking. We're hopping on board right now with Patrick Alex. He is a newcomer to the series, but a rookie of the year from 2019's Ontario Time Attack season. So welcome aboard, Patrick. Oh, getting a little drifty here. So as I mentioned before, the Lotus Exige is rear weight bias. So if the back end comes out, it's going to be a handful to catch. So it's really high risk, high reward for the drivers tonight. And we'll see how they fare, especially going through some of the faster sections of this track, which is the triple turn combo that is Maggots into Beckett's into Chapel. Most of the other technical sections are actually fairly, or relatively wise, fairly slow compared to those three. So he's going into Brooklands. Again, got to work on that trail braking. We'll see how Patrick does. Well, actually, yeah, hop on directly on board with him. Oh, looks like he's having connection issues. Going into Cop's Corner. And going into Maggots, that's the beginning of that fast technical I talked about earlier. A little bit of dirt on the outside. Ooh, good. A little messy there on the second corner. Yep, he's almost lost it there. He's probably going to hop back into the pits. There is just about 3 minutes left in practice, so the drivers can essentially hop in and out of the pits, change cars, and play around their setup as well, to their liking, really. Currently on board here with Adrian Cesanaro. Let's see how he does. Again, for those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4 at Silverstone. Our drivers are currently in practice. So what that means is they're just getting used to the car, the setup, and we're just rounding up everyone and making sure nobody has technical issues joining our server for event number 4. I believe we almost have everybody, so when the clock hits 8:30 or just thereabouts, we should switch over to qualifying mode. The current leaderboard sits with Steven Nairvin at a 225.909, which is pretty damn quick. But again, this is strictly in practice, so let's see if he can duplicate that in qualifying. While we round up everyone to make sure they're on the server, we'll have a quick word from one of our sponsors.
All of those miles, all of those hours, the late nights, the planning, the preparation, they all come down to this. That one perfect lap. Build the car, you win the race.
For Mr. Alex Lee, Super Impreza in
NV Auto, building champions since 2010.
Welcome back, folks. I believe the server admin has confirmed everybody is pretty much here, so we should be switching over to qualification mode anytime now. Welcome to those who are just joining us. We are in event number 4 at Silverstone. Welcome to Merry Old England. Thank you for all your support throughout this entire series. We are currently not on the track and on the virtual track because of this whole COVID pandemic thing. So thank you for all your support for keeping the views up on this channel. This is all new to us, so we're still learning. We're still trying to get better. Please leave some feedback, leave some comments, hit the like, and don't forget to subscribe. So that'd help us out greatly. So from what I've heard just now, we are officially switching over any minute now. So sit tight, and we're about to go where it all really matters. The official 15-minute section where qualifying times matter, and that'll affect drivers' grid positions for race number 1. So should just be right about rounding up everyone. Yeah, we pretty much have everyone on board currently, so feel free, again, if you are watching on YouTube, to join in on our live chat. And if there's any requests, I will try to accommodate them. Yep, we are officially now in qualifying. And just getting everyone lined up, and as soon as they're ready, they will take off and go for qualifying times. Currently on board with Steven Yagovin on his outlap. He was the fastest driver in the practice session, so let's see how he does on one lap around Silverstone. He's still on his outlap, so again, this is a fresh car relative to earlier, so that was just in practice. So we'll just switch over to a few other drivers, but Steven did post one of the fastest times on the server, I believe, also in qualifying. So we'll see how he does. We'll see how he does tonight. For those of you that are unaware of the Silverstone track, it is part of the F1 calendar, and it is home to the British section of that calendar. It's rather flat, and there's very few. There's a lot of turns that kind of look similar for the newcomer. And realistically, the way I break it down is, Steven's gone a little, exploring the track limits there a little bit. But realistically, you can break down the track into 3 main technical sections. There's 2 technicals that are really slow, and then the third technical. So essentially, Steven's going into the hangar straight, which is the second last of the straights. Stowe corner leads into Vale, and then he should be starting a fresh lap, and we can go turn by turn with Steven. Vale then leads into Club Corner, which is the last corner before International Pit Straight, and then we can watch him do one full lap. There he is, coming down International Pit Straight to start his qualification lap. So going into Abbey, which should be a fairly quick turn, leading into the first turn 2, farm curve, which is now into the first technical. Village corner. And into the loop. Very slow. Again, their first 2 technicals are fairly slow, but it rewards most drivers with a unwinding turn typically, which is Aintree, going down the Wellington Straight. Lots of speed, and then it'll slow down for the second technical, which is Brooklands. Watch him trail brake. Yep, he's got a trail brake. This is a very slow corner. With the Lotus Exige, especially with the 38-62 weight balance, it's really tempting to try to hit the gas early, but the moment you do that, you lose all that front grip, and you're just going to understeer straight out of the corner. So there's a lot of temptation, a lot of things that tempt our drivers here, folks. So half the time, especially if you're in traffic, that's going to be very difficult to fight off. Going through Cops Corner. And he's going down now, entering the third and last technical section of the track, or technical segment. Going into Maggots, the famous Maggots, into Beckett's. Right there. And last but not least, Chapel, which is the right-hander. Or the left-hander, sorry. Again, for those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4. We are currently in qualifying. Thank you for all your support. We are just past the halfway point of the season. It's been a great inaugural season. Thank you for everyone contributing the likes, the subscriptions, and also what's the plain old views. It's been a great kickoff to our inaugural e-racing season. So thank you very much for all your support. Thank you to all our sponsors. We couldn't have made this without you guys. Coming through Club Corner, the last corner of the track before he goes back down International Pit Straight. Let's see how he does. So he just rang in a 2:25.868. Yep, times are starting to pile in now. It looks like Val Di Pietro has posted down at a 2:26. Imani Immaculate is just 1.6 seconds behind Val Di Pietro. So Steven should be quick there. Yep. So more times are rolling in, folks. There is currently 9 minutes and 30 seconds, just under 9 minutes and 30 seconds left in qualifying, as you see in the bottom right corner there. So plenty of time still for our drivers to set up some good qualifying times to essentially figure out what their grid position is for race number 1. For those of you new to our series, we essentially have 15 minutes of qualifying followed by 15 minutes of race, and then 15 minutes in race number 2 immediately after race number 1. Now the winners, the top 10 of race number 1 will be reverse gridded in race number 2. So just to spice things up a little bit. Race number 2 is weighted less than race number 1 in terms of points, so you can't quite just sandbag race number 1 and hope you get maximize the points out of race number 2. So just to throw in a little bit of added challenge, and also to give some forgiveness factor in case you have a bad crash in race number 1, you can still salvage the night's points and keep up the fight for the rest of the night and as well as the season. In terms of season standings, Val Di Pietro is currently in the lead, but he is nowhere near safe for the season. We still have tonight's event and 2 more events. Next event's at Imola, and the last event is going to be at Sebring, where we have a special guest helping us out with our track walk. Sebring is a very, very is I believe the oldest track in North America, and we have a very, very special guest taking us turn by turn around Sebring. So be sure to tune in for that one. Let's hop in with Joseph Yang. Joseph is currently driving the Trackside Autosport livery, Exige. And for those of you just joining us tonight, we are driving the Lotus Exige S Roadster. The Lotus is a legendary British brand, but interestingly enough, this car has a supercharged engine from Toyota. And being a mid-engined rear-wheel drive car, it has most of the weight actually right behind the driver with a 38-62 front to rear weight bias. So for most drivers, it'll seem like that doesn't seem to matter, but if you don't trail brake this car properly, you will seem to have no grip up front. So it'll be interesting to see how our drivers fare in a race situation. So Val Di Pietro still currently holds the pole at a 2:25. Steven has really chipped away at that with just less than 0.1 seconds behind him. So this is going to be interesting. There's still over 6.5 minutes left in qualifying. Plenty of time for Steven to dethrone Val. And all our other drivers also putting down some pretty hot laps. So we'll see. There's a total of 22 drivers tonight, I believe. 22 people that have shown up so far. So there's still some time to hop in. But better make use of that 6 minutes, just over 6 minutes left in qualifying. While the driver's still posting up some qualifying times, we'll have a quick word from one of our sponsors.
Since 1945, Toyo Tires has been making quality products. It doesn't matter where you go or what you do. There's a Toyo adventure for those who dare to dream.
Looks like those tires are well tested.
Hey Matt, let's play!
For your drive, dare to dream. Toyo Tires.
Don't forget, folks, Toyo Tires currently has a spring sale. Save up to $70 off select sets of 4 tires from Toyo Tires. For more details, go to toyotires.ca/special-offers. Welcome back, folks. There is just over 5 minutes left in qualifying. So as you can see on the left there, that's our leaderboard for qualifying times. It's Val Pietro, followed by Steven Yegovin, followed by Doug Newman, and Joseph Yang, Jason De Oliveira, and Jordan Bezugli, Brady C, Stefan Bullock, Andrew Davis, and Imani Makalalad, who I believe is still driving in this race with a controller. So that's very damn impressive, I must say. Some of you have asked us in the chat to ask when I interviewed the drivers, to ask them what their setup is. So I'll be sure to put that down. If you guys have any other questions, please post them in the live chat, and I will try my best to ask the winners what their setup is, any questions that you might have that you want me to ask them. So feel free to post in the live chat, folks. Oh, Jordan Mazzugli looks like he's made a move and has dethroned Joseph Yang for 4th place. So we'll see how that works out. There's just under 4 minutes left in qualifying. Again, the time set in qualifying will determine your grid position in race number 1, where the drivers are given 15 minutes of race time. So Imani looks to be passing Joseph Yang there. Let's try to see if he can set a hot lap. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4 at Silverstone. Merry old England. Hop over the pond, and we're now in England. Legendary track, really a main staple of the British Grand Prix. It used to be a bomber field by the Royal Air Force Base during World War II, and then they pretty much just abandoned it. A few friends decided to hop on for, impromptu racing, and next thing you know, the Royal Automobile Club decides to swoop in and, in conjunction with the Air Ministry, take over the track and make it an official racetrack to stimulate the economy and also get people's hopes up a little bit, right, after a depressing World War II. So that's how the track started, and if you look at the aerial view on Google Maps, you can actually still see the 3 runways in a triangle formation that form this track to this day. Again, the drivers are driving a Lotus Exige S Roadster. This car is rather tricky at the limit to drive. Oops, folks, looks like I just had issue there. We'll just have a quick word from our sponsors while I address this. Be right back, folks. Welcome back, folks. Looks like my game decided to do a quick crash, but managed to reboot it, and we should be back in business. So currently with just under a minute left in qualifying, looks like, unless someone puts in a real big flyer, we still have Val Di Pietro in pole, followed by Steven Negovan, followed by Doug Newman, And then Jordan Mazzugli, Joseph Yang, Jason De La Oliveira, Mitch Moran, Brady C, Stefan Bullock in 9th, and in 10th we have, I believe that's Andrew Davis. So unless someone decides to put in some really crazy hot laps, looks like this is pretty much our top 10 for starting. Anyways, for those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4 at Silverstone in merry old England. We should be switching over to our race session in just under 10 seconds, unless someone's driving a hot lap. The way this game works is that if you are driving a new personal best or still putting in a very fast lap, the game won't just cut you off and end your session there. So it's currently in overtime right now. The checkered flag is thrown, but if someone's still posting a hot lap, it will still register that hot lap. So let's see if anyone is going to make some changes to our top 10. Looks like Mitch Moran doesn't really do much there. Let's see who else. Imani is still doing. Yep, Imani's still doing the last segment of his hot lap. So let's see what he does. He's currently sitting in 11th, and is only 0.2 seconds behind Anthony Davis. But we'll see how he fares. Oh, unfortunately, he does not improve his position, so he still stays in 11th for starting. One thing I've decided to add to the stream, folks, on the top of the screen when you're looking in first-person view, on the rearview mirror, there is a radar that will occasionally pop up if the drivers are near other cars. That's what our drivers are mandated to use. It's called an app called Helicorsa. It will show cars in your immediate vicinity because, unlike the real driving, you don't have. Unless you have VR, virtual reality, or 3 monitors set up, it's very difficult to see what's on your left or your right. So the radar app is probably the next best thing to actually looking over to your left or right and seeing there's a car nearby. So currently, again, we're in the overtime section for qualifying. So as soon as everyone puts in their lap times, we should be switching over to race number 1. If you look at the list of drivers there on the left, everything one you see with a P next to them means they're pretty much just sitting in the pits waiting for the event to trickle over. So we should be switching over shortly. It looks like Imani, Valdi Pietro is still driving, and Imani is still driving. So we'll see what winds up happening. We might just have to force the drivers to stop and switch it over to call. Yep, we have done that. So here we go. Right, there's a quick countdown. We'll have a quick word from one of our sponsors before we go into race. Welcome back, folks. Here we are, getting ready for race number 1 at Silverstone. This is race number 1 that has 15 minutes, so we'll see how everyone fares. Getting ready to start. And they're off. Everyone's looks like had a fairly clean launch. With on board here with Valdi Pietro going into the first technical, Village Corner. Long train of cars right behind him, so still fairly clean so far. A few race position changes there, but don't think I've seen any crashes so far. Now on board here with trying to track Andrew Davis. He seems to be in the thick of it. He's made up a few positions. So again, folks, the thing you see on the top of the screen there, that radar view, is essentially what Andrew Davis should be using to see what's around him. So we've had a fairly clean start to the race so far. Again, this is still the first lap. Plenty of time to win or lose the track as well. Going in through the famous Maggots-Beckett's Chapel corner combo. Fastest technical, really. Again, very clean driving from everyone so far. Not too much to note. Jordan Bazugli has made a new move on Steven Niegovan. Let's hop in with them. That's a tight 1, 2, 3, 4, folks. And Jordan is definitely making a move to chase down Val with only... Yep, he's definitely closed down the Delta. Delta is very quickly coming... Oh, nope, it went down to as low as 0.5, but Jordan seems to have underestimated that turn and gone way too wide into it, so... Val is still clinging on, but that... Look at that train of car, folks. Oh! There's a lot of corners here actually do have very wide track limits on the exit of it, so... On board here with Steven Niegovan. You can see he's chasing down Jordan Bazugli, and with Doug Newman right behind him. Ooh, Jordan tried to make the inside on Val, but hasn't really... Val has managed to fend it off, and Jordan has had to take a wide approach into the loop. But that battle has cost both of those guys time, and now Steven's really made ground on both Val DiPietro and Jordan Bazugli. So let's see what Niegovan does. Too wide into the next technical. This is going to be interesting, folks. And Jordan has to be careful not to run into Val. Val's giving him the inside, but now Steven's crept in right between Val and Jordan. Oh, Val seems to have managed to get the exit speed and reclaim second place. Seems to be lapping a vehicle. I don't know who's that in front. But this will be interesting now. It'll compress the traffic and might get a lot of close calls here, folks. Niegovan is definitely chasing down DiPietro. But DiPietro is having a hard time trying to pass this slow car up front. I have no idea who that is, actually. Went side by side through Beckett's with Val. Again, for those of you new to Assetto Corsa, on the top of the rearview mirror, you have the radar app, Heli Corsa, which will tell you essentially how close cars are to touching each other side by side, since not everyone has VR or three monitor setup. Oh, Niegovan makes the move on the outside to Val, but Val managed to hold on to some speed and cuts back out. But that's may have cost Val the straightaway. Going down Vale into the last corner, club corner. Oh, there's a little contact. There's contact. And unfortunately, that cost Steven. Not sure what initiated that contact. That might be review worthy, folks. So Joseph Yang is right behind him there in the Trackside Auto Sport car. Let's take a look at Doug Newman now, who's trying to hunt down Jordan Bazugli. There's a bit of gap there, so unfortunately that might not be as interesting to watch, but let's hop in with Michael Puchik, who just, who unfortunately must have had a spin out or something, because he's dropped down to 16th place. Oh, looks like Patrick Alex has snuck up all the way up to wait, no, I don't know what... Oh, wait, something's gone wrong here. Patrick Alex may have been the slow car, actually, that we were watching earlier. That's why he was initially up there, but the game's resorted the standings, and so we currently have Jordan Bazugli sitting in first, Doug Newman has actually jumped up to second place, overtaking Val Di Pietro. And Jason de Oliveira has snuck into fourth. Stevens definitely still making a push up, but he's being hotly chased by Andrew Davis. So we'll see how this works out. This might be an interesting battle going into National Pit Straight. So Steven and Joseph are navigating through that corner side by side, but Stevens conceded the turn for safety. Now going to Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel. Very fast section here, and it looks like Steven is actually faster than Davis here going into this section. And Steven looks like he's going to be, but Steven looks like he's having to hold off from rear-ending Davis. So good driving by Nergovan there, but he's definitely faster than Davis going into that section. So let's see what he can do going into this corner. We'll hop in on board with Nergovan. Yeah, he's definitely closing in on Davis. And Joseph Yang is still hanging out with them into club corner, the last corner of the track. Oh, unfortunately, he had too much inside curb on that one, so Nergovan's lost a decent amount of acceleration, but his entry was fairly quick, so that's why Davis hasn't walked away from him. Using that full track out there on the club corner exit. Oh, it looks like Davis has had to pit, so Nergovan moves up into fifth. Let's hop in with Paul Todd, who's just moved up his position from 11th, who took over from Imani and moved up to 10th. Now he's hunting down Patrick Alex and I believe that's David Moran? Mitch Moran, sorry. Slow corner here in the loop. This is the first of the three technicals. The slowest of the three technicals, in my opinion. And going in through Aintree Corner into Wellington Straight. Let's see if the two drivers in front of him who are fighting it out make a mistake and give Paul Todd a chance to catch up. Interesting approach, diving straight for that apex. Oh, someone's hit the dirt. Looks like Patrick Alex may have hit the dirt. And yep, Paul Todd is most likely going to move up position. Yep, Paul Todd has moved up position, and that patience has paid off. Now coming out of left field and chasing down Mitch Moran. There looks like a good battle going on there in 15th and 14th. Let's hop in with them. Adrian Cesanera is hunting down Andrew Vernon there, so this might be a good fun battle to watch. Going down National Pit Straight. Again, there's International Pit Straight and National Pit Straight, so not to be confused. The International Pit Straight is the front straight which our drivers gridded on tonight. Going to the Cops Corner. And into Maggots. Fast technical here, folks. Beckett's. Oh, he's definitely closing in on Andrew Vernon. Andrew may have underestimated Beckett's there a little bit, but Cesanera has had to back off to avoid from colliding with Andrew. But we'll see how this fares in the next corner. Going in hot into Stowe. Unfortunately, looks like Andrew may have had the better of him going into Stowe Corner. Coming out of Vale Straight and into last corner, which is Club Corner. Patience is the key here with these cars. You want to hit the gas, even though it looks like you've made it past the corner. But the moment you hit the gas, you understeer that front end, and you lose all sense of front end grip. So looks like Cesanera is not using the full track, whereas Andrew is. So that's how Andrew built that exit speed. But we'll see how it goes into Abbey. Ooh, folks, it looks like we are getting a good fight happening between first and second. So we'll hop on with Doug Newman. Coming out of Brooklands. Oh, contact there with Bazugli. But nobody's really lost. And DiPietro is right behind them, watching them fight it out. And he might just simply hit them from behind and never know. So Val Di Pietro seems to be trying to stay out of that fight for now until these two drivers make a mistake. So let's see what happens. Both drivers a little tentative after that collision, I suppose. Going in through Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel. Ooh, Jordan seems to be a little loose there at the back end on exit, so that might have cost him time. And Newman is definitely catching up. But Val has been keeping it, Di Pietro has been keeping it very, very clean in the back there in third place, trying to make sure he can capitalize on any mistakes these two drivers make. So let's see what happens. Going to Stowe corner. And into club. Jordan definitely is feeling the pressure from Doug. And Doug has shaved down that lead just ever so slightly, but Jordan seems to have used most of that track exit. So let's see if that gambit was worth it for the extra speed versus the distance traveled. Better entry by Jordan into Abbey. And let's see how the three drivers go into the farm curve. Di Pietro is definitely still hanging with them and just waiting for opportunity to really take two birds with one stone. Oh, folks, looks like I've had another crash by the game here. Just going to switch to a quick small word from one of the sponsors.
All of those miles, all of those hours, the late nights, the planning, the preparation, they all come down to this. That one perfect lap. We'll build the car, you win the race.
For Mr. Alex Lee, Super Impreza
NV Auto, building champions since 2010.
Welcome back, folks. Looks like Jordan Bazugli has conceded first place to Doug Newman. So Doug has made the move and passed Jordan Bazugli. Still less than a minute left. Less than a minute left in this race. So that move may have just cost Bazugli the win for this race, but still plenty of time left for one last corner. Val Di Pietro is still currently hanging in the third. Hasn't seemed to have found a right opportunity to make a move yet. But club corner might have a word. Oh, going almost too wide into club corner. That threw off Val a little bit, so that seems to have separated Jordan Bazugli from Val. And as our drivers cross the start-stop line there, this will be probably their last lap with 8 seconds left in this session. So, ooh, mistaken Abbey. Bazugli manages to catch it, but Di Pietro might be gaining on everyone there because of that mistake. Doug seems to be driving fairly conservatively at some point. He doesn't want to lose the race, but that might be costing him in terms of overall, because Bazugli is definitely still hunting him down. So nobody's playing it safe here in the back, folks. Oh, it looks like Doug may have made a slight mistake, or Bazugli may have gone in too hot in that corner. Can't quite tell. There's our top three, folks, with Doug Newman in the lead, followed by Jordan Bazugli and Val Di Pietro. Val's just patiently hanging around the back there in third place, trying to see if there's any gap that he can exploit without really having to resort to any nasty maneuvers here. Again, folks, there is a review process, so if drivers feel like they were punted off or there was some unsportsmanship-like conduct, we will review that. So the drivers do have an incentive to play it nice. So looks like they're going into the hangar straight into Stowe Corner. So there's only 3 corners left. Will Doug Newman be able to hold on, or is Val going to make a move? Let's hop on board with Val Di Pietro chasing down. Let's see if he gets a better exit through a club corner. Unfortunately, nope. He's going to hold on to that position. So there you have it, folks. Newman, Bizzugli, Di Pietro finish our 1, 2, 3. We're going to watch Filippo Oliveira from Driver Mod take 4th, Joseph Yang in 5th. And looks like Mitch Morin should be coming around the corner for 6th place, followed by Paul Todd, Daniel Santibanez. Oh, sorry, in 4th place was actually Jason De Oliveira. Filippo Oliveira is in 9th. And then Patrick Alex in 10th. Santibanez finishes in 8th. Filippo Oliveira, and then Patrick Alex, followed by Stefan Bullock. And it's Adrian Cesararo and Imani Makala. And looks like Puchik should be in 4th, 14th, and Andrew Vernon 15th, unless something drastic happens. Nope, that looks like that's our... So there you have it, folks. Our top 10, Doug Newman, Jordan Bizzugli, Val Di Pietro, Jackson De Oliveira, Joseph Yang, Mitch Morin, Paul Todd, Daniel Santibanez, Filippo Oliveira, and Patrick Alex, rounding up your top 10. Now, the top 10 will be reverse gridded into race number 2. So Patrick Alex will go into pole position, and Doug Newman will be in 10th. So let's see how that winds up. Here we go. "20 seconds before the flag drops. "10 seconds. Oh, it looks like Patrick Alex jumped the flag, so you'll get penalized there. Yeah, Patrick Alex definitely jumped the start there. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4, race number 2. Oh, looks like we've had a off track there at Maggots. Very fast corner there through Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel. So with these mid-engine Lotus Exiges, if you are a little too heavy on the brakes or a little too late and a little too fast on the steering, your back end will come out and it's going to be very hard to catch. Let's hop in with the back of the pack here with Jordan Bazugli, who probably had an incident and spun out or something like that, and he's dropped to 13th, but he's slowly making his way back up. Chasing down Andrew Vernon. A lot of traffic here, folks, through Cub Corner, which is the last corner. It looks like we may have had someone just go off track. I don't think that was contact because the radar didn't seem to show any impact there. Jordan has now climbed up to 11th. Going side by side there with, and he makes the move. Nope. Yep, Jordan has made a move up, but that may have cost him into Village Corner. And now they're encountering traffic with Stefan Bullock. With a better exit, Jordan might... Yep, looks like Jordan's taking him on the outside, and now moves up to 9th. Looks like getting quite the battle up there in the top 5. Let's hop in with them. Watch the back of the pack here with Joseph Yang, who's chasing down Steven Niegovan, and who's chasing down Val Di Pietro. Patrick Alex still seems to be holding on to that first place. I don't know if he quite served his hot start penalty there, but we might have to take a look at that in the standings after this. Going in through the fastest technical of the course into Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel. Oh, a little bit of a slide there by Di Pietro. That may allow... Nope, Niegovan had his slide of his own, so everyone's getting pretty aggressive here. We still got about 10 minutes left in the race, so plenty of time for mistakes to happen, and really, the positions are up for grabs. So, gotta hang in there. Pretty decent convoy going in, and that's Joseph Yang driving the Trackside Autosport livery car. Pretty nice camouflage theme going on there. Oh, looks like Patrick No, is that Pat? I can't quite tell if that was Patrick Alex. He was the only one in the lead, so unless that's Val Di Pietro? No. Val is the red car, so not sure what happened there, folks. Someone spun out. Yep, that was Patrick Ellis. That was Patrick Ellis. So Di Pietro takes the lead, followed by Niegovan and Yang and Davis. So again, still plenty of time for mistakes, folks. Everyone shouldn't be going all in right now. So it's just over 9.5 minutes left. Lots of laps left, folks. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4, race number 2. At Silverstone. Oh, Joseph Yang has underestimated that corner, and the back end's come out on him. So he'll try to get back on track. Let's hop in with Andrew Davis to see if he's who's climbed up to 3rd from Joseph Yang. Niegovan is definitely chasing down Di Pietro there, but Brooklyn's corner might be able to compress those 3 and see. But your top 5 are very, very close proximity. So one mistake by Di Pietro or Niegovan, and next thing you know, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th are right on top of them. Going through Woodcote. And coming down National Pit Straight. Again, not to be confused with International Pit Straight. International Pit Straight is the main front straight where everyone was gridded, whereas National Pit Straight is considered the back straight, I believe. Going in through the fast technical, Maggots, and then into Beckett. And last but not least, the left-hander, that's Chapel. So far, DiPietro's managed to pull away ever so slightly from Nyegovan, and Davis is still comfortably keeping pace with those two. So plenty of time left, folks. Just under 8 minutes left in race number 2. Jordan Bazugli has climbed. Remember, he had a big fallout in the beginning, and has managed to climb up all the way to 6th place. So he's just made some impressive moves up the grid. So nope, he's fallen back down to 7th. Let's see what's going on there, folks. Looks like yeah, he's being hotly chased there by Stefan Bullock and I believe that's Miles. Or sorry, Owen H is driving into Miles' place. So on board back here with Steven Nyegovan. With just over 7 minutes left, still plenty of time for mistakes to happen and plenty of positions to be lost, folks. So will our drivers play it aggressive, or will they just kind of play it safe and just try to hold off everyone? Knowing Nyegovan, he definitely wants to take out. I mean, not take out, but overtake Val Di Pietro there. But Andrew Davis in 3rd can easily catch up to them if Nyegovan and Di Pietro duke it out a little too much. And right behind them are Philip Oliveira and Jason De Oliveira. That's going to be interesting for me to comment on. Make sure I don't mix those two up. But again, Nyegovan still keeping pace with Di Pietro. Di Pietro seems to be putting down some very consistent laps because the delta between Nyegovan and Di Pietro has been hovering around just around the 1 second mark, but it's slowly grown up now to 1.2. So that's interesting. Is it the tires? Is the drivers getting a little bit of fatigue? I don't know. Again, with just over five minutes left in this race, and everyone pretty much settling out, we'll have a quick word from one of our sponsors. Welcome back, folks. Nothing's really changed. Your Steven Nyegovan is still chasing down Val Di Pietro, so nothing really has changed there. Our top 17 are, for most part, pretty much just driving in a nice chain, trying to make sure they don't lose the race. Unfortunately, with this car, it can be very, very unforgiving at the limit because of the weight balance. You've got most of the weight right behind the driver, and if backing comes out, you're probably not saving it unless you spot it really early and correct. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 4 at Silverstone in England. This is race number 2. So for those of you new to us, there are 2 races for the night. The first race determines essentially your top 10 into reverse gridded into race number 2. So looks like we've had a position change between Philip Oliveira and Jordan Bazugli. Jordan had dropped as low as 13th, if I recall, and now he's made a move into the top 5. Can he make it with just under 4 minutes left to the top 3? That's a question, but there's unfortunately that looks like just over 7 seconds between him and Davis, so that may not be possible, but you never know. One small mistake by Davis or Nyegovan or Di Pietro for that matter, and next thing you know, the 4, 5, and 6 are right on top of them. Clean Beckett's. Yeah, and going into Chapel, the left-hander. Looks like DiPietro is actually slightly pulling away from Nyagovin. Now the delta between the two of those, our first and second place, has gone up to 2.11 seconds there. Filippo Oliveira just had a really nice slide there in that yellow execution behind Jordan Zugli, so point for style. Let's hop in now, going with 2 minutes left, two and a half minutes left. See if there's any hope for Andrew Davis and Nyagovin going into that last, especially what will probably be their last lap or second last lap in this race. On board here with Andrew Davis. Again, the gapping between the top three seems to be fairly even. DiPietro has held on a very, very clean race so far and managed to essentially put down very consistent laps. So he hasn't driven to lose the race essentially, and but he hasn't exactly driven slow either. So Nyagovin really rose to stardom last event at Monza because he swept the qualifying and race number 1 and race number 2. So he's trying to maintain that momentum up the point standings and see if he can do some damage there on Val Di Pietro on the overall season standings. Val Di Pietro is currently our season points leader, but it's far from concrete because there's still decent points gap. There's still like plenty of chances left with 3 events to go. Tonight's event followed by next week at Imola and then at Sebring. And I don't think, Val Di Pietro did not win the last race, so he still has a chance to potentially be caught up to in the point standings. But unfortunately, it does not look like our top 3 are going to be changing positions anytime soon with just under a minute left in this race session. Pretty much, I believe, once they go through Vale and Club Corner, they will be initiating the final lap of this race number 2. So let's see if anyone makes it spicy and makes a mistake. But right now, everyone's essentially, it's their race to lose, or their positions to lose. So if they're smart about it, they should hold on. But what do I know? I'm just a commentator. Yeah, leaders on the final lap. So DiPietro is in the final lap. So let's see if Nyagovin or Davis can make a move. If the gap even opens. DiPietro's driven a very clean race, as I mentioned before, and are essentially top 10 are fairly evenly gapped. Let's hop in with Doug Newman, who has a potential of moving up 2 spots here. Going side by side into the loop. Oh, almost side by side. Really trying to make himself visible, but Joseph Yang there in 10th place is really trying to see if these two make a mistake and capitalize on that and move up into the top 8. Going down Wellington Straight. And going to Brooklyn's Corner. Out of left field, nothing has really been made. Everyone's again being super cautious not to lose the race effectively. So our top 3 are currently going through Beckett's, Maggots, and Chapel. Oh, a little bit of hard braking there. And Joseph has taken the inside and moved up a spot into 9th. And that exit speed has really closed that gap there, going in through Maggots, Beckett's, and going into Chapel. Let's hop in with Joseph Yang. Folks, looks like our leader is about to cross. They're going in through club corner, so right now Val Di Pietro was most likely going to win the race, but we'll just stay on board here because there's a fight happening here right to the very end. There you go. Val Di Pietro has currently crossed the finish line, followed by Steven Niegovan, and then Davis. I believe Jason De Oliveira is next, and Zugli's finished third, so we might have a tight finish here with these three. Oh, looks like Yang. Oh no, Yang tried to take the outside. Oh, that backhand spin out might just lose him. Nope, he's managed to hang on to 9th. Newman does not make a move into 10th, sadly. Into 9th, rather. Well, there you have it, folks. That's our top 10. Now, the server will be resetting. Just a quick word from essentially Ontario Time Attack as to what we do while I round up our drivers for a quick interview. Please hang on, folks. I will try to get our drivers, and we will have a nice interview at the end of this.
Time affects our lives, shapes our future, and defines our world. Every hour, every minute, every second. But in Time Attack, it's hundredths of a second that matter. Separating first place from the pack, the winner from the could-have-beens. Originating on the racetracks of Japan, Time Attack has grown into one of the most important and exciting motorsports available today. The goal is to set the fastest lap time on the race course using any vehicle, balancing engine power and reliability with driver skill and courage.
When you're in the car, the G-forces are phenomenal. You've got to balance the car properly. You're always pushing for that extra tenth of a second.
Ontario's premier Time Attack series holds events across the province each summer. Morning practice followed by competition runs all afternoon. 3 grueling time sessions.
We are on track with other cars, but we're not actually racing that car. We're always racing the clock. So you're out there all day, essentially to just bust off one really fast lap.
Each class has a technical spec, from stock street-legal cars to those with high-performance brakes and tires, all the way up to fully modified or prepped racing machines. With vehicle differences out of the equation, it's down to driver nerves and technique to seal the final outcome. Without distracting wheel-to-wheel competition, lap times are usually faster than the race divisions. But the biggest wow factor? When a racer lays down a lap time that not only beats competitors in his own class, but blows the doors off the classes above him.
A big part of it is the speeds you get up to. The back straight at Mosport, you're going over 200 kilometers an hour. When you get to that corner at the end, you know you got to take that corner to 140 kilometers an hour or you're going to be falling behind.
Every lap counts, every corner counts. Your laps have to be very consistent.
In Time Attack, you're always pushing, testing the car and yourself, like driving a never-ending qualifying lap. One mistake, and your time session's over in the blink of an eye. Time rules all of our lives, but on the track, it's your job to beat time. Are you up to it? Experience Time Attack. Breathe it. Live it.
No swearing.
All right, welcome back, folks. So we've got a bunch of drivers this time. Due to popular demand, you guys have asked for a bunch of drivers, essentially not just the top 3. So here we are, folks. We've got a bunch of folks here. We'll talk to actually Joseph Yang. We were watching you towards in race number 2. You had a great battle, moved up to 9th, and almost. And I think Davis was right behind you in 10th, and you tried to really push it because your back end came out on that last corner, and you lost a lot of exiting speed there.
Right. I think that was actually Doug Newman.
Oh, Doug Newman. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I know he's a much faster driver than I am when we were qualifying. So I was really nervous. And then when Stefan, I was trying to gauge what Stefan was about to do, and it just seemed like his back end was getting loose. So I got a little nervous, and I sort of jabbed on the brake, and then I sort of lost control for like a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
And Dog just took that chance and just started running, and I was just screaming while I was like trying to pass through.
It was interesting because it looked like
Left
Doug
the
was
door
gonna.
on the outside a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like Doug was gonna take you on the outside, and I'm going, "Oh, here we go!" And then it never happened, unfortunately.
Oh, it was so close.
It
I
was
think
really
it was,
close.
It was less than like a half a car's length.
Yeah, unfortunately I was in car camera view, so we couldn't see the outside view, but it on the Helicorsa it looks super close. But
Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, but actually speaking of Doug, then Joseph Yang overtook Doug right before going into Maggots, so that was a beautiful inside pass there.
Yeah,
What happened there?
Jamming on the brakes just a little bit because I was trying to follow who was in front of me. They got a little shape, so I ended up leaving the door open just a little bit just to not have a collision. And yeah, he slipped right up the inside. So fair play to that, absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity.
But Stephen, you had a hard time trying to find Val there. The gap was just towards the end, just getting bigger and bigger. Were you just driving more conservatively, or?
He's got a really good excuse. So I rage quit the first race. So when I came back on the second one, I didn't pick the setup that I had, so I was on baseline, and I was wondering why I was so slow. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm understeering everywhere. So I just kind of like took second. Why not? So
Yeah, still better than nothing, because yeah, I was looking at going, like he seems to be off pace, and then yeah, because the top three, I actually didn't focus on much on the top three for I think the latter half of the race, because you guys are pretty much 1, 2, 3 for most of it, so I wound up focusing on the back there, but I was hoping there would be some shenanigans towards the end, but nothing happened really.
I'm pretty sure like I started like 19th. I don't know what happened to like the whole grid, but
Well, there was, I think on the first 3 turns we had 3 cars taken out, and a few people dropped out as well. So
yeah, turn 2 was a little kerfuffle there into the apex there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got a little nasty.
But Imani, you there?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, you had a bunch of people cheering for you on the YouTube chat there. Unfortunately, what happened there?
So if I'm being honest, I had a really good battle with Paul Todd up until the second last lap. Right before the start finish line, I wasn't sure if there was contact or if I just caught some oversteer, and then I went into the right hand barrier right outside the pit, right before the last lap.
From my brief view there, I wasn't sure that was lag or if it was just rear end, because it didn't look like there was contact. Because I do have the Helicorsa shown on the stream, so it was really weird.
I wonder if it shows for you the same as it does for us, where I know sometimes Paul's car was in front of me in the second race for a bit, and I was following him around, and it kind of jumps forward, jumps backwards, jumps forward. It's not too much. Paul's wasn't anyways, but I know, like Val was saying, the other car there at the start was really jumping, so
yeah,
just connection to the servers.
Yeah, Patrick Alex definitely had some weird issues. Even when I was following him during the practice runs, he seemed to be. There were times literally he would teleport off the track and teleport back on. So I'm not sure. Yeah, it could be connection issues too. And tonight.
Yeah, I've seen that in a lot in other games.
Yeah, but Jordan, great job! Great job! On race number 2 there, you kind of really fell back, and then you clawed all the way back to, I think, did you finish? Yeah, 6th, right? So
5th actually. I think 5th or 6th. I don't remember.
That's
I think
6th.
5th.
Showing...
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was 5th. Yeah, I ended up passing Philip. I think he kind of looped it around a corner and missed. I think.
Oh yeah, he did.
Turn 4, turn 5, he looped it, so I was able to get by. I was
Right.
chasing Jackson down, but he was keeping the pace up. Like, he was just really consistent. So I was getting there, but just not quite. But yeah, no, it was really, really good fun. Just had to kind of, stick with it, right, and work your way through the field.
So one of the questions that several of our audience members have been asking, for all you guys, what setup are you guys running into your sims? Because that's something. I mean,
that's a good question.
So who here is on 3 monitors? Let's put it that way. Anyone?
I'm on triple.
So Joseph Yang is on triple monitors. Anyone else?
I am using VR.
That was Steven?
No, Doug.
Oh, Doug. Okay.
I'm using VR as well.
Any weird issues with motion sickness with VR for you guys?
No, I don't find it. Some people do. I think I was trying to explain this potentially to you or Joseph earlier. If your computer can handle it, because you have 2 screens inside of the headset, and in newer headsets, it's a lot more resolution. So you need a computer that can really drive that. So if your frame rates start to dip below a certain point, you will actually get that motion sickness. Whereas if it's stable and above a certain point, like say mine's 90 hertz, you don't get that, and it's a really immersive experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I can chime in as well because I actually have an issue with motion sickness, like certain like 4D experiences and rides, etc. Like they don't bode well for me, and I think it is due to the sensitivity with the frame rate and obviously the 3D and whatever. But I figured when I got my Oculus, I may have some issues just based on my past. But like Doug is saying, as long as you have a computer that can handle the high frame rate, it's really immersive.
Is there a target frame rate that you're trying to achieve, or is it
so
really?
It's all based on the headset. So Doug, I think are you using the Oculus like CV1 or a Vive?
No, I have a Samsung Odyssey HMD.
Oh, the Odyssey.
Plus.
Okay, yeah. So that'll target 90 hertz or 90 frames per second.
Yeah.
I'm using the Oculus Dev Kit, like the DK2, like the older one, so it's lower refresh rate a little bit, 75.
Can I also like make this discussion last a little bit longer and ask a question?
Sure.
So you've got the Odyssey. Have you tried any other headsets to compare?
Yes. I've tried a Lenovo, which I actually bought for dirt cheap like a while ago just to see if I'd like VR. It is the bottom of the barrel headset, and I like the idea of it, but just the quality of the image wasn't good. So then Evan, which you know from Autocross and SPDA, he had a Vive and then he had a Vive Pro, and I've tried both of those. I find the lenses in the Odyssey to be a little bit better because they kind of eliminate that screen door effect. But overall package, I think that Vive is probably the way to go.
The OG Vive, really?
Well, he has the Plus or the Pro or whatever.
Pro, okay. Because I have a Vive, and I thought I preferred the 1080p 27's quality over the Vive because it's like brake markers turn into like 4 pixels when you're.
Yeah,
that's just an issue with VR. I think no matter what, like even like I'm running a DK2, which is like older, and I think you just get used to the visual acuity. But I mean, the good thing about that Samsung is that like there's deals on it like all the time.
Yeah.
They
usually find it for $300.
They put like a fine mesh in it to eliminate screen dooring as well. So I know I've tried Evans and the Samsung. I find there's a huge difference in pixel. Like you don't see it as much.
Cool. Actually, one thing I want to point out too on the stream, Philip Oliveira, you had a pretty sick slide coming out of Woodcote. I think towards the second last lap. I'm pretty sure that was you. You were driving a yellow car, weren't you?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because I think I was focusing on the guy. I can't remember who was in front of you, but we thought you were making a move towards the very end there, and you just had a really sick slide onto camera. So be sure to watch the stream again because you come in really good majestic fashion there coming in.
All right, we'll do. If I can't be slow, I can be. If I can't be fast, I can be entertaining.
Definitely points for style, my friend. So, anyways, thanks everyone for joining us. Hopefully you guys had fun, and we'll see you next week at Imola.
Perfect. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Good race. GG's.
Good night.
GG's.
Good race, guys. Take care.
Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for watching. And everyone, don't forget to give us a like and smash that subscribe button to follow us for future streams and videos. Be sure to hit the bell button to receive notifications on when we have new content. And for next week, we go back to Italy for Imola GP circuit. Same bat time, same bat channel. See you next week. Good night and stay awesome.